Let's get right into it. 10. The adrenaline addiction. Picture this. You're on a first date and everything's going perfectly. Nice restaurant, good conversation, zero red flags. And somehow you're bored out of your skull. Meanwhile, your friend who's dating someone who shows up 3 hours late and forgets their wallet has butterflies for days. What's happening is your brain confusing stress hormones with excitement. When someone triggers your fight or flight response, your body dumps adrenaline and cortisol into your system like a broken vending machine. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and your brain goes, "Oh wow, this person makes me feel things." Except those things are literally just your nervous system screaming. It's the same rush you get from bungee jumping, except instead of a cord, you're attached to someone's emotional unavailability. The cruel joke? Healthy relationships feel boring by comparison because they don't spike your stress hormones every 5 minutes. Your brain has basically become a drama junkie, and stability feels like watching paint dry. Congratulations, you've trained yourself to mistake anxiety for attraction. 9. Trauma Bonding 101. Ever notice how people become ride or die loyal to the worst possible humans? Like, you'll watch someone defend their toxic ex like they're protecting a war hero, when really this person once threw a tantrum because the Wi-Fi was slow. This is trauma bonding in action, and it's basically Stockholm Syndrome for dating. Here's the psychology. When someone alternates between being your source of stress and your source of comfort, your brain gets confused and creates an intense attachment. It's like if someone kept punching you in the face, then occasionally handed you an ice pack. Your brain would start associating the ice pack person with relief, even though they're also the punching person. The relief feels so good after the chaos that you mistake it for love. This cycle creates a dopamine roller coaster that's more addictive than slot machines. The unpredictable rewards, those rare moments of kindness sandwiched between drama, hit your brain's reward system harder than consistent love ever could. Essentially, you've been emotionally gambling, and your heart thinks it's winning, even when it's clearly losing its shirt. 8. Mistaking intensity for intimacy. Some people think screaming matches at 2 a.m. are the height of passion. If your relationship feels like a telenovela, complete with dramatic music and people storming out of rooms, you might be confusing emotional chaos with deep connection. Real intimacy isn't measured in decibels or how many dishes get thrown. The confusion happens because intense emotions, whether positive or negative, create strong memories and feelings of significance. Your brain doesn't always distinguish between "this person makes me feel deeply" and "this person makes me feel deeply disturbed." Both scenarios involve heightened emotional states, so your brain files them under important relationship moments, regardless of whether they're healthy or horrifying. Meanwhile, actual intimacy looks like boring stuff, having comfortable silences, agreeing on what to watch on Netflix without a 3-hour debate, and not having to decode cryptic text messages like you're solving ancient hieroglyphics. But since healthy intimacy doesn't come with its own soundtrack and dramatic lighting, it feels less significant than the emotional hurricanes you're used to. 7. The Familiarity Trap. Your brain has this adorable quirk where it mistakes familiarity for safety, even when that familiar thing is actually a flaming dumpster fire. If you grew up in chaos, chaos feels like home. It's like being raised in a house where the smoke detector constantly beeps. Eventually, silence feels wrong and suspicious. This is why people often date carbon copies of their problematic parents or keep ending up with the same type of person in different clothing. Your subconscious brain sees red flags and goes, "Oh good, we're back in familiar territory." It's not that you consciously want to be miserable, it's that your brain equates predictable patterns with safety, even when those patterns are objectively terrible. The really twisted part is that healthy love feels foreign and uncomfortable because it doesn't match your internal template for what relationships should feel like. So you self-sabotage perfectly good connections because they don't trigger your familiar stress responses. Your brain literally rejects upgrades because it's suspicious of anything that doesn't come with its usual side of dysfunction. 6. The rescue fantasy. Nothing makes some people feel more alive than trying to fix someone who's clearly determined to stay broken. You see someone with obvious issues and think, I could be the one to save them, as if love is some kind of extreme sport. This isn't romance, it's a hero complex with extra steps and significantly worse outcomes. The psychology behind rescue fantasies is that they make you feel needed and important. When you're constantly solving someone else's crises, you get little hits of validation and purpose. Plus, if they're always in chaos, they'll never have time to notice your own flaws or leave you. It's job security disguised as devotion, and it's about as healthy as it sounds. Here's the plot twist. People who need rescuing from themselves don't want to be saved, they want enablers. You think you're the hero of this story, but you're actually just the supporting character in someone else's dysfunction. The person you're trying to fix sees you as a convenient emotional bandage, not the love of their life. 5. The fantasy bond trap. Your brain is absolutely obsessed with potential. Show it someone who could maybe possibly be amazing if they just fixed 17 major personality flaws, and suddenly you're planning your future together. This isn't love, it's your imagination falling in love with a person who doesn't actually exist yet. The fantasy bond happens when you become attached to who someone could be rather than who they actually are right now. You see glimpses of their better self and convince yourself that's the real them, while dismissing their consistent bad behavior as temporary glitches. It's like falling in love with a rough draft and ignoring the fact that they have no intention of editing themselves. This is particularly dangerous because you end up doing all the emotional work for both people in the relationship. You're busy loving your imaginary version of them while they're just existing as their actual problematic selves. Meanwhile, you're over here writing fan fiction about your own relationship and wondering why reality keeps disappointing you. 4. The anxious attachment spiral. Anxious attachment and toxic relationships go together like peanut butter and jelly, if peanut butter and jelly could ruin your entire emotional well-being. When you have anxious attachment, you crave closeness, but also fear abandonment, which makes you the perfect target for people who specialize in mixed signals. Every hot and cold behavior from your partner sends you into a panic spiral that feels a lot like passionate love. They pull away, you chase. They show interest, you flood them with attention. They create distance, you interpret it as a challenge rather than a clear message. Your nervous system is constantly activated, and you mistake this state of hypervigilance for being crazy in love. The tragic irony is that your anxiety makes you cling harder to exactly the wrong people. Someone who's emotionally unavailable triggers your abandonment fears, which makes you fight harder for their attention, which makes them pull away more, which makes you more anxious. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. 3. The danger detection malfunction. Your brain has ancient wiring designed to keep you alive by spotting threats. Unfortunately, if you grew up around emotional danger, your threat detection system got completely scrambled. Now it mistakes red flags for green lights and safety for boredom. It's like having a smoke detector that goes off when you make toast, but stays silent during actual house fires. When someone treats you poorly, your brain recognizes the pattern and actually relaxes because it knows how to handle familiar dysfunction. But when someone treats you well consistently, your brain gets suspicious and starts looking for hidden dangers. This creates the bizarre situation where kindness feels threatening and cruelty feels comfortable. Your nervous system has basically been trained backwards. Instead of being attracted to people who make you feel safe and valued, you're drawn to people who activate your stress responses because that feels normal. It's like your internal GPS is permanently set to take you to the worst neighborhoods while avoiding all the nice ones. 2. The emotional whiplash effect. Nothing bonds people quite like shared suffering, which is why trauma relationships feel so intense and meaningful. You go through emotional warfare together and mistake the battle scars for deep connection. It's like thinking you're soulmates with someone because you both survived the same car crash, when really you should be questioning why they were driving drunk in the first place. The constant emotional whiplash, fighting, making up, breaking up, getting back together, creates an addictive cycle that your brain interprets as passion. Each reconciliation feels like falling in love all over again, not because the love is real, but because the relief from ending the conflict floods your system with feel-good chemicals. You're basically getting high off your own stress responses. What makes this particularly insidious is that the intensity feels more real than stable love. When you're used to emotional extremes, normal relationship emotions seem flat and unconvincing. You mistake the absence of drama for the absence of feeling, so you keep returning to relationships that hurt you just to feel alive again. Number 1. The love versus activation confusion. Here's the big reveal. What you think is love might just be your nervous system being triggered into hyperarousal. Real love actually calms your nervous system down, makes you feel safe and grounded. But if you've never experienced that, you might mistake emotional activation for romantic connection. It's like confusing being struck by lightning with being illuminated. When someone triggers your trauma responses, your body goes into high alert mode. Your heart races, you become hyper-focused on them, you can't stop thinking about them, you feel addicted to their presence. Every interaction feels charged with meaning and intensity. But these are literally the same symptoms you'd have if you were being stalked by a predator, because to your nervous system, you are. The most heartbreaking part is that healing this pattern means learning to appreciate boring, stable love. It means retraining your brain to recognize safety as attractive instead of threatening. It means accepting that real love doesn't feel like a constant emergency, and that's not a bad thing. That's the whole point. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is choose the person who doesn't make your trauma responses light up like a Christmas tree. Recovery from this glitch requires basically rewiring decades of faulty programming, and it feels incredibly counterintuitive at first. You have to sit with the discomfort of relationships that don't spike your adrenaline every 5 minutes. You have to learn that someone remembering your coffee order isn't boring. It's actually love in action. You have to discover that feeling calm around someone isn't a sign that the spark is missing. It's a sign that your nervous system finally feels safe enough to relax. It's like learning to appreciate a gentle sunrise after spending years thinking that only explosions were worth your attention. That's all for today. I'll be making more videos like this, so subscribe if you don't want to miss them.